Good afternoon, Zinger Nation. What is up? Hope everybody is doing great on this Monday afternoon. My name is Logan Ross, and I'd like to welcome you to Moon or Bust, your home for all things crypto at Benzinga. I am here in the Blue Room today, downtown Detroit, Michigan, not on the normal stage where Spencer and AB just left you, but glad to have you here regardless. So joining me today is the one and only Justin Roberti, our special ops crypto reporter here at Benzinga. Justin, how are you today?
Special ops crypto reporter. That's awesome. Yeah, so I'm like a special agent of crypto reporting. Hello, Logan. How are you today?
I am doing good, feeling good. No clue about what the heck is going on in the markets, but that's why we're here. We're going to talk about it, dive into all of the news, and we have a special interview today. Who are we talking to, Justin?
Well, we've got an awesome interview coming up. We're going to be talking to Adam Hollander. He's one of the more famous bored apes on Twitter, and he is a former employee of Microsoft. Apparently, he had an individual business that he sold to Microsoft. And then he worked with them as well that had to do with gamification. But he worked with Microsoft talking about gamification, and we're going to talk to him today about gamification and NFTs. So stay tuned for that.
Most definitely. Super interesting interview coming up. So make sure to smash the like button if you are a Moon or Bust OG and drop a comment. Let us know how you're feeling on this Monday afternoon. What coins or NFT projects are you looking at? If we get time, we will go through them. So, right. Justin, I like to start the show. Ryan and I usually start the show by looking at the Bitcoin and Ethereum charts. So I'm going to take a second and pull up the Bitcoin chart on TradingView for us. Since I'm in the Blue Room, I don't have it ready. Just bear with me for a second. But what macro trends are you paying attention to right now?
I have, for one thing, seriously been wondering if the situation in the Ukraine is going to impact Bitcoin. I mean, I know that they're trying to and it could go one of two ways. On the one hand, there's a whole bunch of bad actors who, virtually every other government on earth is looking to seize their funds. And on the other hand, there is a matter of, could there be more whales flowing into the crypto space as certain people look to move their billions over? I've been kind of wondering how that's going to go.
Yeah, likewise. We see gold is doing well for the first time in a while. Was Peter Schiff right all along?
Well, I mean, the thing about gold is it has 10,000 years of history behind it. We've been using it as a form of currency since before the Roman Empire. So if we want to look at it that way, if it's now a horse race for all currencies, crypto and otherwise competing, that was kind of the original competition. Is the one that goes the furthest back.
And here's that gold chart. The highest it's been since the middle of 2020. And it is going parabolic right now. But, shiny metal. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's chart is not quite as upward facing as gold. We do have some consolidation in this range, though. So, if I try to draw some lines, maybe here and maybe drop another one right around here. I think the 38 to 44 range is where we are stuck right now, bouncing back and forth pretty quickly and looking to consolidate in this range. Once again, take that 38, turn it into support, and then try to turn 44 into support next. Justin, do you do any technical trading or any trading at all?
I do a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I kind of keep that in my journalism life fairly separate, but I think it's important to remember to not treat this too much like day trading. If you got in at 2017, you're still doing very, very well and know to stay pretty chill right now. It might have seemed like a funny thing to bring up in terms of the Ukraine, but I think that situations like that are real wild cards, because if we don't navigate as an industry working with these governments and we force them to, be in a situation where they have to demand to shut off all accounts to Russia, for example, or demand entry, it's a very sticky thing to navigate. So I see that as a volatile situation. Otherwise, these day-to-day fluctuations, it all depends on when you've gotten in. I mean, certainly that like 18-month, 24-month unabated bull run was certainly a whole lot of fun, and everybody felt really, really positive during it. But we all knew that a correction was coming. So I think at this point, we just try not to freak out. The world has been going through a lot of stuff for the past year and a half while cryptos remain strong.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that technical trends are more or less a distraction in the crypto space? The macro trends and the news topics are really what change the direction of the market.
Mhm. Well, I mean, yes, I think in some ways trying to like discern trends by looking at the dailies can be like, way back in the day, I used to work with a big weather provider. It's like people trying to make statements about climate change based on daily weather events. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just not necessarily the same thing. You've got like a whole different perspective. So it's like I think for most people holding right now, provided that you're investing smart, and if you have money sunk into Bitcoin, I mean, barring worldwide catastrophe, you're not going to lose your investment. So, like, the best thing you can do right now is to kind of just hold on and try and not let the day to day trend shake you too much. To me, anytime I've talked to, I am not one of those like pro investors, but I've spoken to a lot of them. And the attitude of all of them seems to be like, try not to sweat the small stuff as much as you can. I mean, we all knew that this was coming in 2021. And honestly, if you told me in 2017 that we were going to be here, I wouldn't necessarily believed you. Tim Draper would have. He said he called it, but I wouldn't have necessarily believed you. So stuck at 46 or whatever, stalled out at 46. That's still a good kind of problem to have unless you bought it last month.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. A lot of people could probably use to zoom out once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's up only, right?
It's like
Let's.
I feel like in no position to really make any like particular prediction about Bitcoin, except that I feel like in 10 years it'll have value. That's my personal opinion, and you shouldn't do anything with my personal opinion because I'm not an expert in any way or whatever disclaimer I'm supposed to put on it. But since somebody asked, like, I don't want to give you a 10-month forecast in Bitcoin, but I'd be pretty comfortable telling you 10 years from now I think it'll still have some sort of value. So like
Yeah,
everybody sit tight while it finds its place. Like that's what I think personally. Obviously, infinite growth is not possible. And frankly, when you're in like just an unabated bull run like we were midway through last year, that is scarier because that presents the unknown. We know that it's got to come down sooner or later. This is as far as descents go, it's gonna bum a lot of people out, but it's not so bad. What do you think, Logan? I think you're more in the investment side of it than I am.
yeah. I see a lot of people losing their conviction like very recently, specifically today. They're like, "Oh, gold is going up and Bitcoin's not. Like, what's happening? Is it all over?" It's been one day. Like, chill out.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, if gold is going up, then cool. Be an agile investor, maybe diversify your portfolio, stack it away and invest in some gold futures. It's not a half bad idea. One of the best nets that's going to come out of all of this crypto investing and an interest in it is just an interest in investing overall. I mean, I think that like, in the future, for a lot of you Zoomers, it's just going to be a part of your portfolio. This will be part of your life, which is way better than like when I was a kid and no one was making any investments or saving anything at all.
Yeah, I hope that turns out to be the case for sure. Let's take a look at some NFT markets. Justin, do you hold any NFTs? I know we've talked about NFTs endlessly, but I don't know if you're a collector or not.
De facto, I've almost had to be because I've interacted with so many projects and so forth. So yeah, to a degree, but again, I keep that like almost completely to myself. There are
Mhm.
a few projects I feel pretty good about right now. Right now it's looking like we've still got the generative projects holding most of the top tier positions. What are you feeling bullish on, Mr. Logan?
Um, the NFT space lately has just been like very, very erratic, right?
Mhm.
We've seen starting with like the Pixelmon, uh, things have not been really
Mhm.
making sense lately.
Right.
And I think this is a sign of, potentially tides turning in the NFT markets. I think that, liquidity is getting sucked out of the good projects for these
Sure.
dumb projects that are going up for no reason.
Mhm.
Um, but, I hope that better things are around the corner. A lot of people are going to get wrecked and have a desire to return to fundamental strength. So I'm hoping that we see the projects that are doxed and doing stuff, take over these leaderboards pretty soon
Mhm.
here. I think that the introduction of 4 million new users into the NFT markets via the Coinbase NFT platform, whenever that comes out,
Mhm.
is going to be mind blowing potentially. And I
Mhm.
don't think it will happen right at the beginning, right?
Right.
Everybody wants to be a part of it, and then they say, "Hey, you're off the wait list. Like, sign up, put some money into it." A lot of people are going to be hesitant, but people will start dipping their toes in. People will start spending a little bit, and the dominoes go from there. So, I certainly don't think that whatever this NFT cycle that we're in is right now is
Mhm.
going to end or top before the end of the year, before Coinbase comes out more
Mhm.
specifically.
More of these generative projects. I'm like, at some point or another, projects have to stop trying to reproduce the hit song that they did before.
Yeah.
Right? Like CryptoPunks has like genuine scarcity going on, like following the trajectory of any other collectible. Where like you know, like Happy Meal toys before the 1970s are great collectibles because no one was saving them. From the 1980s on, people start collecting that stuff. Like once it's consciously known to be a collectible, it doesn't have the same innate scarcity. So they're trying to build in scarcity, but how much room is there for another Bored Ape Yacht Club? I mean, like I have a feeling Bored Ape is going to, obviously CryptoPunk's going to retain their value, like some of the leaders on top. But the ones I'm more interested in are like, VeeFriends has been in the top 10 pretty consistently, and they've got a plan at least. They've got the VeeFriends show coming up, I think in May. I think it's coming up in May, for example, which is building on Gary Vee's own. No, not only like his own profile, but the things they were already doing. They're always doing this. They're already doing a series of shows. What really like spooks me a little bit, including with like top 10, top 20 NFT projects that I've interviewed, is
Mhm.
how tacked on their going forward plan is. They do the initial drop of 10,000 or 6,666 or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and then they start adding baby versions and alternate versions and mute versions and doing other drops.
Yeah.
But that's like trying to repeat your success. Like how are they gonna keep the utility built up around it? I mean, right now everyone's saying the community, but these are some expensive communities if it's all about. I doubt that anybody before joining Bored Ape Yacht Club participate. How many people had $100,000 memberships to real life yacht clubs or golf clubs, wherever that would happen. It was the
Mhm.
exception, not the norm. So like
Yep.
the burst in popularity is amazing. It's just like I'm not saying that not all projects, like some projects will be inventive enough to keep that value off, but others
Mhm.
just don't seem like they have much of a plan. Personally,
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. It's so hard to tell what a community experience is worth, and it's worth different things to different people as
sure.
well, right? So the saying like, "Oh, this project is doing so much cool stuff. I don't get how it has a 10th floor. This other project has 10th floor and they've done way less." It's kind of apples to oranges at this point. There's so much luck involved, and so many darts are being thrown at this NFT board
Right.
that where yours lands is kind of chance at this point.
Right. Mhm.
I think that this downturn in the NFT market is definitely going to be a hopefully cause some risk off, whatever that means in the NFT space.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I'm hopeful, but I'm a little bit worried, just a pinch of worry.
Do you think these generative projects? I mean, I don't mean to pick on them specifically, but on the one hand, we've got projects over here that are, producing a whole graphic novel or producing a whole film. Like, you're getting some kind of output at the end of it, right? Like, maybe you like it or maybe you don't, but at least it's doing a thing, rather than kind of these vague promises about we might have a game by 20. I love particularly the game ones. To me, that's a red flag. You tell me you have a game.
Yeah, same.
I've had a game that's about to drop for 6 years now.
Right.
So, but it will by the end of this year, I think. Finally, but and that's in UE4. It takes a long time. The development process takes a long time. So, like, definitely, if you're out there shopping right now, look for somebody that's doing something. You look what you're going to get out of it. What kind of value it has for holders.
Yeah, and I'd also encourage you to don't buy into projects that are already hyped, right? Because then you missed it. You want to find the next project that you think is just as cool, if not cooler, than something else that nobody's talking about, right? You want to in the Discord, you want to see a bunch of announcements of like collaborations coming out and a bunch of holders complaining about the floor price being low, right? Buy when there's blood in the streets, not when everybody is euphoric.
That's funny. And I wonder if there was a bump for Bored Ape Yacht Club when like Jimmy Fallon and Paris Hilton had that conversation about how much they each looked like their individual ape, which I thought was just like a ridiculous, vapid conversation, like so silly. But like, to me, I would feel exactly the opposite. Not that I'm a holder, I would be, that'd be great, but I'm not. But like, to me, if Paris Hilton and Jimmy Fallon are telling me to invest in something, maybe it's time to consider my exit strategy, right? Like, that's beyond my grandma telling me about it. It's on the Tonight Show now.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Justin, where do you find NFT projects that where do you see the most interesting NFT projects or discover them? Or is there nothing interesting going on right now?
There is some interesting stuff going on, but like in an unexpected kind of way. I mean, as we talked about last week, I've been pretty into the fundraising side of it because, like, I've been interested in fundraising for not for profits. Like, Super Rare right now has a drop that they just did on Friday that specifically benefits the Ukraine again, which I think that's great. I like to see stuff like that happening. Most of my information I get through a degree to Discord, but that's like once you've already found the project. For me, it's like Twitter, and I have to confess also, like, I am contacted by 200 NFT projects a day. A lot of it comes from people who talk to me. Not everybody has that advantage necessarily.
Do you read all those emails?
I try to read a lot of them because, like, it's really hard to, like, you never know. There, like, sometimes there's something in there that's really freaking cool. So sometimes I'll go back and reread it because I didn't catch there was anything cool about it the first time. But yeah, like, I try to see if anybody's doing anything different.
Definitely. We could maybe talk about some of the things that grab your attention about different NFT projects, but I think we've been on this topic for a while, so I'm down to talk about the Andre Cronje news or talk about future killer apps on Ethereum. Which way do you want to take it?
No, let's talk about the Andre Cronje thing.
Okay, so that was big news. I think it was yesterday. Andre Cronje, creator of Yearn Finance, and his partner, they've also created a bunch of other big DeFi apps. They're considered OGs and legends in the DeFi space by literally anyone who knows what they're talking about. They announced they are leaving DeFi for good. Justin, what's the scoop here?
You had to do a little bit of digging because I think that they've been kind of private about it, but like, essentially, he has made kind of angry statements before, and I don't know, like, suggested that he might back off from the DeFi space, citing the toxic community, and so and that was one of his most recent statements that he made to Decrypt. So I have a feeling that it might have something to do with that. I mean, that, and I believe in DeFi. I believe that we have, I'm still feeling pretty bullish on the DeFi space overall, but perhaps he's detecting, a place where there has to be a correction. I mean, there are a lot of people in there right now trying to do something slightly different, when you talk to the projects, you see a lot of very minute variations of the same thing over and over again, you know? So it depends. I mean, I think that there is going to be a shakeout. There has to be, don't you think? So so
Most
I don't know
definitely.
if there's anything related to that in it, but I do know that he felt that there was some anger in the space. And honestly, people are pretty intense anytime they're talking about anything money related. So it's not hard to. I mean, is that hard for you to imagine from what you've seen with the crypto space?
No, and especially if I was in Andre's position, sitting on probably near $1 billion of money that he's made from the DeFi space,
Sure.
I would be much less incentivized to put up with all the shenanigans that are
Right. Right.
constantly going on.
If Logan had $1 billion right now, we'd never see him on the show again. It would be me and Ryan doing the show, which I
Mm,
respect. Gotta go live life, you know?
I want to say that's not true, but I guess we'll find out if and when I ever get $1 billion.
Yeah. Yeah. $1 billion will change you, man. You never know.
Yeah, so let's talk about a little bit more about what's going to happen to Andre's apps, right? So they announced that they were sunsetting like almost
Hmm.
10 of the applications that they
Oh.
had come out with, including Wire and Finance, which is a huge surprise, I assume, to many people. This is one of the first big DeFi apps that saw a lot of traction and adoption, and they are sunsetting all their front end interfaces. So, the smart contracts are still out there on the blockchains. The protocols are immutable. And I think I heard that Andre had not even been active on the Yiren team for like 10 months or
Mhm.
some significant amount of time. It seems pretty automated, like they have a good team behind it. So I'm not sure whether or not this front end will be shut down. In that case, other people could definitely come in, create their own front end interfaces. um, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that there's a market for potentially like DeFi protocol aggregators, like maybe a website that gives you a front end interface to Uniswap and Wire and SushiSwap and all these different apps all at one place? Do you think this could spark a new hype wave of DeFi aggregator websites?
Well, definitely. And honestly, I've seen some dexes that are already kind of trying to be that thing in some ways by pulling together all these different places that you can invest. So sure, I think that that's definitely a possibility. We just, I think we want to make sure that everybody involved in the project is able to, get whatever value they have in it out of it, just because that's, good for the blockchain space for everything to be all on the up and up, of course. But you know, like I'm not trying to diminish that it was among the first. I just think that how many hundreds have come subsequently. Like if it was if Urine was going, had a long term future like that, would he have walked away from it in the same way, or was he expecting there to be a correction?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't think we know the answer to it yet, do we?
No, I think we have no idea. And why would he comment on that? Obviously, he can't. He literally can't. So I think that it's a shame. He's a good leader in the space. Maybe he will develop for AI or move on to do something with VR, do something with voice recognition. I mean, there are lots of cool areas to explore in tech. I mean, as much as I'm a proponent of blockchain, there are other kind of cool cutting edge areas to invest your time and energy in.
Definitely. There's no shortage of niches within the blockchain space. And I tend to think that most of them have not even been discovered yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, I mean, this has a lot of people who are long term, in the space. It has them a little bit concerned. Um, but I think that it's a sign of potentially maturation and evolution into a new stage. Jack Dorsey left Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
It happens, right?
But yeah, definitely. I mean, and look how intense it is. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of like adjusting to all that growth. Somebody said too much gains last year. I don't know. Like being imagine being in his position. Like I can imagine that being a pretty intense amount of pressure. I mean, just the fact that having been in the space 10 years makes you an OG to begin with. Like look how gosh darn brand new the whole thing is.
Hmm. So turning to our next topic, we have a couple minutes before Adam Hollander joins the stream. Just want to remind everybody, make sure to smash that like button for us. Only takes a second and it helps us out a lot. So Justin, next question. On Friday we chatted a little bit. Well, Ryan was out; he's still out. We chatted about the killer apps on Ethereum and how crowdfunding is the primary and first killer app of Ethereum. Do you have any thoughts on where we might find our next killer application?
I was thinking about this question, and I think that, like, sure, what you can see right now is people, like, obviously the next thing that's going to come out of this is other people, like farming itself, people creating funds around farming. Yes, you could create insurance around the same thing and do payouts through that, but it's all working based on the same mechanic. What ETH2 is doing right now is allowing people to stake, to become validators and be able to build up value through that. And what you've got is everybody else, building up applications around that. It'll be interesting to see what comes of that, because right now it's like there's like, although you see people coming up with different derivations of it, in terms of staking, like that's the functionality that everybody has to work out of. And I've recently talked to both Polygon and Polkadot, and it's hard not to feel in some ways like they're further along than Ethereum is in terms of bringing actual use cases.
Awesome. We can talk about that a little bit more at the end, but we have Adam Hollander backstage. So I'm going to bring him on and get this set up. So joining us today is Adam Hollander, former Microsoft gamification employee. Adam, now that you're in Web3, how good does it feel to be thinking outside of the Xbox?
That's a really fun.
That one planned all day. That's the dad joke we're going to open with.
He's been waiting and waiting. Look, I had a wonderful experience when I sold my company to Microsoft, and I met a lot of amazing, very smart people. I learned what it was like to sell products at really unbelievable levels of scale. But today I get to wake up and spend my day on things that I'm just truly, genuinely passionate about. What I'm doing now every day, working on these projects and metaverses and otherwise, it doesn't feel like work. And so I guess to your point of how does it feel, it feels freaking great.
Awesome. So walk us through your backstory. How did you end up in the Web3 space to begin with?
That's a great question. So my professional background is more traditional. I came up a variety of different sales roles around the world. And then I started a company in 2011 as founder and CEO. I grew that, in a pretty traditional way. I generated VC capital, sold it to Microsoft. I've always been in, blockchain in some shape or form. I bought Bitcoin early. I bought Ethereum early. I minted a CryptoKitty 4 years ago, even though I don't think I really appreciated what it was at the time that I did that. It wasn't until mid last year that I started learning about metaverse real estate. And I came upon Decentraland, and I actually bought a plot of land for myself just because, I said, this is kind of cool. I like the idea that I can own, a plot of land in the metaverse. And then the next day I decided that I didn't like the plot that I had bought, and I would have rather bought something else. And so I decided to throw the one that I bought up for sale. And in a matter of hours, it sold at a $4,000 profit. And that was when I started saying to myself, well, all right, maybe I could do that again. And then I bought another plot of land and I sold it the next day for a significant profit. And I kept doing this over and over again. And that was the moment I said that there's something here that I need to really understand at a more detailed level. And I started reading books and joining discords. And one of the things that came up over and over and over again, no matter who I seemingly talked to, was Bored Ape Yacht Club, Bored Ape Yacht Club. And so I started learning more about generative NFT projects and the community behind them and the enthusiasm behind them, the membership behind them. And that inevitably led to me buying my first Bored Ape. And then the moment I did that, I posted it on Twitter, and overnight I generated thousands and thousands of, enthusiastic followers, and people were reaching out to me to want to learn more about my background. And I started realizing that, this Web3 world that exists specifically within NFTs, it really is just this tremendously enthusiastic community that stands behind it. And since then, I've gotten involved in dozens of other generative projects. I've launched my own generative collections. I'm in the process of launching a pretty vast metaverse on NFT Worlds right now. And I find myself spending almost 100% of my time just immersed into all of this stuff that started off more or less as a hobby.
So what year did you get involved? What year did you get involved in NFTs specifically?
Well, I suppose if you count CryptoKitties, it was a little over 4 years ago. But if you count when I really got involved and started understanding, the implications of what is an NFT and representing infallible digital ownership on the blockchain, it was really early to mid last year.
Adam, I also minted a CryptoKitty back in 2018. Did not even know what an NFT was, and didn't until years later. That was a pretty crazy moment looking back.
Yeah, I really wish that I had appreciated what I had at the time, because, man, if I had gotten into NFTs in the way that I am now 4 years ago, I think I'd be pretty thankful for that. But, when I minted the CryptoKitty, it was more like this, cool, interesting thing that I can seemingly do, in tandem with the Ethereum that I own. And I just didn't appreciate what it was at the time. Last year, when I really came to understand this whole concept of, being able to prove digital ownership of these assets and the implications that has on just all sorts of markets, that was this implosion moment in my head where I said, not only am I going to start investing more into this financially, and I've personally put a lot of money behind this, but I wanted to start spending all of my time on it. And that was when I really made a conscious decision to leave my Web 2.0 job. I was chief operating officer of a medical education company that's doing amazing things for the world. I'm really proud of what we built there, but I started understanding the implications of spending more and more of my time here. And I think in hindsight, I'm pretty thankful that I did.
What I think is a really fascinating dovetail in, with your skill set or your background and how it could apply to NFTs is the fact that, with your company that you originally sold to Microsoft, there's an example of, specifically for Salesforce, you're creating a system that encourages positive participation. And I've seen many enterprise class businesses try to go through just this, and that's why, the need for gamification, the need for long-term incentives and short-term incentives to stimulate different kinds of specific behaviors. You can see it all over the way Salesforce is kind of like stumble about with any kind of Fortune 1000 company, right? Like creating all these incentives. I'm sure you've seen some of them too, Adam. It's probably before you created your business, where sometimes it can feel a little bit hodgepodge. Like 1 minute they're throwing out $50 Applebee, coupons at you, for anybody who answers the question in the seminar, just to get people to participate, right? Like, but you created a system for encouraging positive participation, and now you're existing in a space that 100% relies upon not only the belief of its participants, but the positive participation. So what I want to know is how you are bringing that mindset and that particular skill set you have to NFTs to encourage positive participation in a strong community for hungry wolves.
That's a really, really fun question to ask. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
For a little bit of context for those that don't know. So the company that I founded a number of years ago and sold to Microsoft was called Fantasy Sales Team. And so we created that company. It was a gamification platform, but when I built it, the word gamification was not the buzzword that it is today. In fact, I didn't even know the concept of gamification when we started that company. The whole point of it was, how do you motivate employees to do the things that they're tasked to do in a way that is genuinely fun and really motivates the entire force of employees, instead of the top 20% that tend to always win those Applebee's gift cards and otherwise, while everybody else sits back and wonders how they could ever participate. And so the structure of that business was, we allowed every salesperson in a company to earn points for whatever it is that they were tasked with doing, sending emails, making phone calls, closing deals. And then the twist was, we let everybody else in the company draft fantasy teams of the players. And so, the CEO, the receptionist, everybody else could become invested in the success of the players, to the point where what we saw happen was, you'd be a sales rep and you'd walk down the hallway past somebody else in the company and they'd say, what the heck, man, you only made 26 calls this morning. You're dragging my team down. What's going on? And it was this culture of encouragement and motivation and even pressure to an extent. And it wasn't even about the prizes or the rewards. It was just about the visibility of what was actually going on and the fact that you got all these other people to care. When I built that company, I had to learn a lot. I had to become an expert in what motivates people, what gets them out of bed in the morning, what do they really care about. And I spent time working with hundreds of companies, really personally, to understand, how do you get all of the salespeople to wake up every day caring about these kinds of things, not the folks that traditionally win the prizes or awards or, get brought up on stage and, patted on the back.
And it seems like the answer is money. I mean, that's certainly, you've had that conversation with tons of people, VPs of sales will be like, how do we motivate salespeople? Money. And okay, yeah, that's true. And to a degree, that's true of everybody until it's not.
Until it's not, and that's the key. We had companies that offered prizes with that company that I built that were nothing to do with money. One of them said that the winner of this competition gets to pie the VP of sales in the face on stage in front of everybody else. And you have no idea how hard people worked to be able to do that environment.
We're going to do that with Logan and someone in our comments.
I love it. And so, back to your question about translating that now over to, Web3. What I've learned more than anything else when it comes to Web3 and especially these generative NFT projects is it's the community behind them. And, there's a lot of people that buy into these things speculatively because they believe they can make money. They think that, I spend X today and, this thing's going to moon tomorrow for X number of reasons. And, they hope that they can sell it before the next person comes in. But where I've been spending time is on projects that are really using that same mentality to generate value. And so my generative project, Hungry Wolves, which is a gamified collection, it is really about figuring out how do you take these people that own these NFTs and how do you get them working together in an environment where they're competing against each other, they're working together with one another, using game mechanics, very similar to the ones that I learned with my company that tend to work to create a lot of fun in that environment.
So tell me about a mechanic you've been able to carry over. I would love to hear that. I mean, there's been so many earnest stabs at doing this where it's like you're combining NFTs, or maybe it encourages secondary trading. I did one recently where it's crypto punks, where it's like you have to combine 5 toes to get a foot, so it's like it changes the pun is kind of cringe, but it's it's an interesting project because they're trying to say, well, even if you don't get any rare NFTs, you can combine them and make a foot, which is rare or something like that. I mean, so it's interesting, a lot of like earnest stabs at trying to get something that scratches that gamification itch. But what behaviors would you look to encourage? Because to your point, it's like I agree that like how do I put it? Like you can adapt some like old saying about this. Everyone's your friend on payday when you're at the bar, and in crypto, everyone is your friend when you're doing an airdrop. It's great. You get 15,000 names on the list of people who all wanted $2.50 from you, and what does that do for you later on? It doesn't create a community.
I'm with you. So one of the things that I learned when I first got into NFTs is I would go into these Discords like Bored Ape Yacht Club, and it would be this like streaming, endless, massive amount of messages where you felt like you were part of a community to some extent because you owned the same NFT and you were all rooting for the same thing to happen and you all are financially committed to it. But, when I compared that to days when I used to play, MMOs like EverQuest or World of Warcraft, and you're in a guild and you feel this genuine affinity. I mean, these people are almost like family to you over a period of time. And the first thing I wanted to do with Hungry Wolves was to do that. And so with the project, what we said was that when you get your NFT based on its unique traits, you're going to be able to enter the Wolf Den, which is a website that we set up that has a Web3 login with your wallet. And based on the traits of your wolf, you can join one of 10 wolf packs. And when you join that wolf pack, it then creates a Discord channel that you have access to that no one else can see for you to communicate and engage with your packmates. And so that was something that we were excited about, is creating micro community within the context of the larger project, and then creating game mechanics where you would rely on that community in order to compete. And so the next thing we do with the project is that we have regular airdrops every single month of what we call scrumptious sheep and little lambs. And they're really fun looking NFTs that fall into your wallet that, you know, you virtually hunt on the full moon every single month. And some of them are rarer than others. And each one has a metadata trait that's called dominance. And so if you get a really rare mythical sheep, it's worth a lot of dominance. If you get a really common white sheep, then it's not worth a lot of dominance. And what we're releasing in just about a week and a half is the ability for you to go back into the wolf den and eat your sheep. And if you eat the sheep with one of your wolves, then you burn the NFT, it disappears out of your wallet, and now you earn dominance. The dominance that you earn for yourself gets mirrored into your chosen wolf pack. And so as everybody is coordinating together to eat these sheep, whether it's the ones that you got, whether it's ones that somebody's giving to you, whether you're buying them off the secondary market, then you're essentially driving your wolf pack forward, and then you can earn additional dominance. Well, what can you do with that dominance? We're releasing
rewarding transactions. It's rewarding doing primary and secondary sales. The more transactions, the more you build up the strength of your particular wolf pack.
To some extent. And then, you know, what we're going to let you do with the dominance is upgrade the visual traits of your chosen wolf. And as you do that, then you're going to have more notoriety and status within your given pack. And over time, we're releasing other features and functions that are going to motivate you to want to hold dominance. But it's not something that you're just earning by yourself. It's something that you're earning in context with your chosen pack mates and strategizing with them. You're also going to be able to challenge other wolves from other packs. And so in a PvP-like environment, you can each stake dominance, and then the winner of that PvP battle actually earns it back for themselves and their chosen pack. And so for us, you know, look, some of these mechanics are, you know, remedial in the context of, you know, broader video games. What it comes down to is that they are still transactions on a blockchain, and there are things that you're doing in the context of, you know, an NFT ecosystem. But we want them to be things that you're doing collaboratively as well as competitively with lots of other people that you have the ability to communicate and engage with. And we released a completely free to mint foundation of this collection called Runts a couple of weeks ago. And the whole idea there is that, look, if you can't afford a hungry wolf, if you don't want to come in and spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on an NFT, we want you to be able to enter this ecosystem completely free. And so you can mint really high quality 3D modeled generative NFTs that the moment that you create one, you can then enter the wolf den, join a wolf pack, start collaborating with other folks. You can even eat sheep. You can earn dominance on behalf of the pack. And you want to create a low barrier to entry so that anybody that wants to test out, well, what is this NFT thing? How do I join one of these generative projects? How do I enter a community? You can do so now for just the cost of the gas fee of the transaction. And that's something I'm really passionate about.
I love that you worked in a narrative. That's what's really kind of impressive here. That I haven't seen that happen many times. I mean, you know, you get a little bit of lore. Like I'm a game dev as well as in the crypto space. To some degree, I'm the most, you know, I don't actually code a whole lot, but I'm on a dev team for an indie MMO we're developing. It's cool to see that there is, you know, lore as part of this, and it's almost working like a guild-based game, maybe from like 15 years ago, kind of thing, which is good. That's a lot of playability. Now, is there any strategy involved here? Is this all just die rolls based on what kind of, you know, what you get in your drop, or is there are there strategic choices you can make in terms of what you do and how you move your NFTs about to build up the strength of your guild or your pack?
It's a really good question. So you can only eat a certain number of sheep each month before your wolf is full. And so the number of wolves that you have in your wallet enable you potentially to make different strategic decisions about how you're going to consume sheep for that given month and which ones of them are going to carry over to your wolf pack. There might be certain situations where you can't eat any more sheep, but it makes sense for you to gift some of those sheep to other members of your wolf pack so that they can eat them, because that drives the pack forward and drives additional value. The other thing that I'll, you know, talk to, and this is maybe a bit of a tangent, is that one of the reasons I'm so excited about NFTs is I believe that they are building blocks for an inevitable metaverse. And so Hungry Wolves right now is building a hungry world on top of NFT worlds. And this is going to be an environment that you're going to be able to go into on any system that can run Minecraft's engine. And so that's your Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, your VR goggles, whatever it is. And you're going to be able to walk around. We're going to be creating game mechanics in that world that are based on the NFTs that you own on the blockchain. And then it's going to be that we're going to have these mechanics that are more of the NFT sort of transaction focus, which is, really where gamification started with these projects. Right. But then it's moving and transitioning into a world where it feels much more like a real video game. And that transitions even into the White Sands metaverse project that I'm very proudly building right now, which is about, master planned community real estate and creating really interactive experiences that are connected to thousands of other communities and worlds. And Hungry Wolves, of course, is going to be one of them. And so this whole space is evolving so quickly. And so, just a year ago, when you thought about what would be innovative for one of these projects, today is just a standard expected, table stakes thing that you have to do. And because it's moving so quickly, you need to stay ahead of it in order for people to feel like you're innovating and delivering on your promises. But I do think the game mechanics will evolve over time to having more strategy involved and less of the dice roll, transactional element, but it needs to start somewhere.
We've just been talking about toxicity in the community. I know that toxicity in any because like in MMOs specifically, which are growing as gaming up and down the board, every kind of growing, including MMOs, every kind of gaming, including MMOs, has been growing tremendously in 2021 and 2022. All we had to do was lock everybody at home, and gaming continues to grow. How are you adding value to the community? How are you preventing toxicity in the community, which is a constant preoccupation for all gaming?
Yeah, I'm incredibly passionate about this. And so, if you follow me on Twitter, I've got, about 30,000 people that follow me, and 29,980 of them are all into NFTs. That's all I talk about. And so I try very hard to be a positive voice in the overarching community and to point out when I see people doing nefarious things or trying to take advantage of folks that are new, releasing, projects like Runts, which are really focused entirely around bringing people into a positive community and a positive atmosphere where they can learn about these things. I talk a lot about the security and what people should be doing to protect their assets in the space, because there's just too much theft and folks that really are doing terrible, terrible things to folks that don't understand the concept of, their private key, or that they should be using a hardware wallet or otherwise. I'm building a site right now that's supposed to be an on-ramp to people that are setting up their very first wallet, and the things to take into account and how to understand concepts that otherwise might seem really complicated, that really aren't when they're just explained the right way. I am a doxed founder, unlike the majority of these projects. And so people know exactly who I am and what I represent and my own personal and professional background. And they can hold me accountable for the promises that I make, which is a trend that I hope we see a lot more of in this space, because it's dangerous. A lot of these projects that, have avatars that are taking on millions of dollars through a mint and, really can't be held accountable for their actions. And not to say that they're all nefarious. There are some really amazing projects that don't have doxed founders. And I'm not saying you should avoid them at all costs, as much as you need to take the risk into account when you get involved in projects where you can't know who the people are that are standing behind them. And so I'd like to think that I'm a positive force for the community. I'm on the news pretty consistently to try to teach folks about NFTs and why they should care about the space. And I'm not just on there saying, hey, you're going to make 10x your investment tomorrow, buy whatever you can. It really is about doing the research and getting involved in the discords and understanding what you're buying and why you're buying it, and understanding that every dollar that you invest into NFTs or blockchain is a gamble. It's a risk. You should think of it very similarly to walking into a casino, in the sense that every dollar you spend, you should be prepared to lose it. And I'm not saying you're going to lose it or that I hope that you lose it. And in fact, I've made a tremendous amount of money personally on NFTs and blockchain and otherwise. But you can't go in with the mindset that that's the reason that you're doing this. You should be doing it because you're passionate about the things that you're investing in, that you want to learn about it, you want to be part of these communities, you want to do the research and the work. And if you do that, I've generally found that there's a lot of diamonds in the rough, and you can get involved with the kinds of projects that have real meat and utility behind them. And that's, generally been very positive for me, and I hope is positive for others, in the sense of, being able to go about it the right way.
That seems like a statement of philosophy, though, your own and that of your company more than it sounds like policy that you're talking about. Like in terms of rabid communities that will eat you up. Like honestly, gamers are the only ones I can think of that were probably rougher to deal with than the crypto crowd, quite honestly. Because if everything isn't perfect, free, and right now, then it's all terrible. And boy, do they complain. Boy, do they complain. I love. There's a channel, Some Ordinary Gamer. This guy Mudahar who was telling a story about. Essentially, I think it was a Reddit thing where they were doing pool closed a few years. This is like a meme from like 10 years ago. They were which they were doing to this hotel game, right? Which I do have sort of underlying questions around like, what is the metaverse bringing us now that VR chat hasn't brought us? But like, to finish the little story, what they did is the troll. Well, the trolls, they were trolling. So yeah, they were trolling. The trolls on Reddit were literally planning how to go storm Meta the same way that they used to do the pool close thing to ruin the hotel experience. I forget the name of that platform. It's from like 10 years ago. But the problem is when they got on, they realized there's not enough people. And this is Facebook, right? Like they've got a pretty big footprint, larger than most nations on Earth, and they've got like 200 people hanging out in their chats right now. So like, how are we going to make this something new and different, and then how like something that people haven't seen before, and how are we going to regulate it?
Yeah, wow, that's a big topic. I generally look at Reddit as like
I was just asking that for him.
Look,
all the negative questions come from Logan.
Okay.
I generally look at Reddit as kind of like the pit of despair of the internet. I've had a lot of pretty terrible experiences. I mean, just about a month ago, I made one comment on Twitter about NFTs, and somebody went into Reddit and said, "Hey, we've all got to storm this account." And I kid you not, I had maybe 3,000 hate messages in a period of a few hours. And I'm not exaggerating when I say 3,000. And these were like really hateful, terrible things that people were saying to me. I mean, even me, I've got a pretty thick skin. And, I was saying to my wife, like, man, like my phone bings every second. And, people are just saying some pretty terrible stuff. But, look, those people are always going to exist. We're never going to be able to get rid of them. It has nothing to do with the platform or the technology or Web2 or Web3. What you have to do is find the communities that won't tolerate it. And so, there are thousands of NFT projects, and each one of them has a Discord and a Twitter, and they have very, very different vibes and very different communities and very different tolerance levels for certain types of speech or certain types of, interaction. And when you find the right ones, to me, I've never felt this in any other thing that I've ever done in my life, except for guilds in MMOs. Guilds and MMOs and, leading raids and MMOs, when I was doing this, for many, many years when I had more time to do so. I wish I had time for that these days. But, there's this just incredible feeling that you get that's indescribable to people that haven't played those games in that way. Yeah. And in these communities, it's the first time that I've ever felt that outside of that environment where, you go into these Discords and you can spend hours really engaging with these people and, you're talking about what's going on in the space and you're, giving alpha about other projects and, you're learning things and everybody's joining spaces. Just this morning I did a, spaces with another project founder and, we had 200 people listening live. It was impromptu. And those people are all asking great questions. And the community for NFTs, what I'll call NFT Twitter, is so generally positive that they don't put up with the hate most of the time. And because of that, I think that that's part of the reason that so many people are into this world right now with the enthusiasm that they are, is because it's so hard to find those kinds of communities elsewhere. And there's so many people protecting the vibe that when people come in and try to do nefarious things, they get bombarded. And only when you have people coming in mass, almost from an outsider perspective, like what I mentioned with Reddit, do you end up in those situations where it turns negative.
But can you incentivize? Can you incentivize not being a jerk? Because if you can create a reliable system for that, we'll take it off of blockchain and we'll just apply it worldwide.
I look forward to the person that solves that problem perpetually, whether it's on or off blockchain. I don't think we'll ever solve it entirely, but if you find enough people with enough positivity that are willing to engage in a community in the way that I think we all dream of communities being, then it creates barriers for people to come in and generate that kind of negativity and that kind of hate. And hopefully we all can just be positive proponents of that.
Adam, are you bullish on NFTs the rest of this year?
Oh, heck, I'm bullish on NFTs far longer than that. Look, there's a lot of NFT projects that are going to go to zero. And so, there are plenty of things you can spend a lot of money on right now that are going to go to zero. People are buying them for no other reason than they, in a Ponzi scheme-like way, believe that they have value only because they think that they can sell it to somebody else for more value. But in reality, there's no utility, there's no real team behind it. And this happens really, really often. I mean, there are tons of projects now. It drives me crazy. They make millions of dollars just copy pasting the art from another project and changing the background color. And then they mint it and people go and spend, huge amounts of money, not individually. Each person might spend, $100, $200, but they sell 10,000 of them. And what do you know? They've made 7 figures. And they did it because they, paid somebody to just go and, change a background color. Look, just like anything that you can invest in, you're going to see peaks and valleys. We have a war going on right now that's causing tremendous fluctuations in a variety of markets, NFT and crypto, of course, included. And can I say where Ethereum is going to be in 6 months, where NFTs are going to be in 6 months? No, I can't. What I'm bullish on is the role that NFTs are going to play long term. They are going to be building blocks of a metaverse. They are going to have implications in markets that people don't even understand yet. Anywhere where you need to be able to infallibly prove ownership of a digital asset and the authenticity of that asset, whether that be real estate, whether that be tickets, whether that be, cars and vehicles, whether it be things like video games and metaverse, there are so many places where it's going to be important to infallibly prove ownership of a digital asset that it's almost impossible to me to not believe that NFTs are going to play a major role. And when you look at where we are today, OpenSea is the #1 marketplace for Ethereum NFTs right now. They've got about 400,000 monthly active users on that site. And that's despite the fact that I'll go on record saying OpenSea technologically is a relatively terrible platform. And yet it's a platform that we all use because it's really all that we have. But there are other platforms like Coinbase that are going to be coming out. And I don't know if Coinbase is going to be any better. GameStop is putting out an NFT platform. I don't know if it's going to be any better. But bottom line is, Coinbase has 68 million monthly active users compared to the 400,000 that are on OpenSea right now. Imagine what happens when you log into Coinbase and there's an NFT icon and you can spend the Ethereum that's already in your wallet with the push of a button. Do you think that that's going to do good things for a market that today is already thriving on 400,000 people? I can't promise these things. Nobody should ever look back to me and be like, Adam told me to invest my life savings in NFTs. But I will tell you that I personally have put 7 figures into NFTs. I'm spending 18 hours a day, 7 days a week on businesses that rely on NFTs as a foundation. And that's coming from somebody that could be spending their time doing anything, including sitting on a beach doing nothing. I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it and I believe in it. And I really do believe that NFTs have a very powerful future for our world, not just as collectibles that have speculative investments and ability to make money.
I love it. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, we are out of time today. Everybody out there, go follow Adam on Twitter. It is linked in the chat. And check out Hungry Wolves, also linked. Thank you for tuning in to Moon or Bust today. Subscribe to the Benzinga channel if you're not already. That is it. We will see you on Friday. Peace out, everyone.
Appreciate it.